Welcome to Grace Baptist Church Podcast, where together we are growing in grace and the knowledge of Christ. We don't know all the answers, but we know the one who does. Let's go live to the Grace Baptist Studio in Winchester, Kentucky, with your host, Kurt Corcoran.
Welcome to episode 12 of the Grace Baptist Church Podcast. We are so glad that you are joining us wherever you are joining us from. If you would do this, pause this right now, whether you're on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, pause it right now, go like it, go comment on it, say, wow, I love BJ's beard. I love his hairdo today. I love pumpkin pie. Whatever you want to do, just comment. It helps the algorithm. And then if you would do so and share it too as well, we want to get the word out that we have a podcast, and some of these topics are funny. Some of these topics are serious. It's just a platform where you can kind of look behind the scenes at GBC and kind of what's going on here, and also be discipled and talk about different things when it comes to life and faith. So if you do so, please please share it. That would mean the world to us. Hey, I want to start off with scripture here. Colossians 3:16 and 17 says this: "Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. And whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father through him." If you don't know, Thanksgiving is 2 days away. You excited, man?
I'm excited.
Dude, tell me about your Thanksgiving plans.
So we always go to Bowling Green, which is where both my wife and my family both live there. And so we usually ship out. This year's going to be a little bit different because my son is still playing football, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But he will get done with his practice. He actually has to practice on Thanksgiving Day, which is wild. But he'll practice early that morning. We will ship out, drive to Bowling Green, and we will eat with our families, and then we will make the pilgrimage back towards Eastern Kentucky, and we will come back because he has to play a game on Friday. So, yeah. Black Friday football game for us this year. Yep.
Wow, that's exciting.
Pretty sweet.
And who knows? One day he may be playing a game on Thanksgiving Day.
That would be the dream.
What's your favorite Thanksgiving food? You got to talk with me. What's on your plate?
Yeah,
Thanksgiving. I'm looking over your shoulder. What's on your plate?
So man, in the Stroutman family, so my mom's side of the family, her maiden name is Rich, and so we have I love my mom's side. Love both sides of my family. My mom's side of the family, there's so many unique things about them. One of the things that is unique to the Stroutman family is, man, my mom's mom, so my grandmother's dressing recipe, bro, she's not playing. She's passed away and gone on to be with the Lord, but man, she's one of those ladies that could just cook. Yeah. Right? We all know those ladies. And my grandmother, she could just cook. And so, like, the dressing recipe that she has, it has, like, it's got apples in it. I think it's got sausage in it. It is spectacular. Wow. Like, it's really, really, really special. And so I will have a pile of that, and everything else goes around it. Here's a question. Cranberry sauce. Where you landed on the I'm
not there, bro.
You don't eat it at all?
No.
You don't even like it, period?
No, I like cranberries. I just don't like cranberry sauce. It's just a different world for me. I can't get into it.
Cranberry sauce. So, like, I get made fun of because I'm super old school. It's probably horrible for you, but I like the stuff where you turn the can upside down and, like, this can-shaped mold falls out. I saw a picture of that the other day. So, like, we call it Canberry sauce. Yeah, instead of cranberry sauce.
So you just take a fork and just eat that?
Oh, man, if you can't slice it, it's not cranberry sauce to me. So, like, my dad, he likes to cook as well, and so he makes, like, a real, almost like a jelly almost kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I think it's got, like, orange peel in it, and it's got all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm not eating that, man. Give me the can, crack the can open, turn it upside down, let it flop out onto the little dish, and we cut it up in little bologna like slices. Yeah. It's a little slice of heaven. You need to get on that train, Kurt.
Yeah. It's not that I don't dislike, because I'm really not a picky eater. I'll try anything, but there's just certain things that I go to.
Is it sour and bitter? Is that,
yeah.
You don't like the taste?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a texture thing.
Oh, no.
Not
Texture really doesn't bother me.
Okay, so it's a taste thing.
Yeah. But no, I would say for me, my Thanksgiving plans, we're going to Ohio, leaving out tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon. We'll go and stay with my in-laws, and then we'll have lunch with Sarah's side of the family, my in-laws, and then we'll have dinner with my side of the family. Thankfully, they only live 10 minutes apart in the good old Hillsboro, Ohio.
Nice.
Right, so yeah, that'll be mine. My Thanksgiving plate, man, you got to have some turkey. I'm all about that turkey.
Yep. Okay, wait, pause right there. Fried turkey, or just like a good old traditional roasted or baked turkey, or does somebody in your family like smoke a turkey? Like, okay, so have you tried all three of those? Have you done the Cajun fried turkey where you inject the?
I have not, but that sounds really good. But I'd probably, if I had to pick, I've had fried and I've had oven baked and I've had smoked. I would go smoked all day.
That's pretty legit.
Oh, it's just so good.
Yeah. So if you've had it, did they smoke it, or did you just buy a smoked turkey?
I think we smoked one year. Yeah.
Who in your family does the smoking work?
My dad used to, when he used to have a smoker. He doesn't anymore, but yeah.
Nice.
So yeah. What about you?
Well, so I go back and forth between the two. My brother is pretty much a magician when it comes to smoking things. Like, he can do killer ribs and pork shoulders and all that stuff. And so he did a smoked turkey a couple of years ago, and it was probably the best I've ever had across all the board. But somebody gave him, I think from his church, I think they raise some turkeys. I think they slaughtered them themselves. So they gave him a turkey. And it was just, so I think the turkey was just a really, really good turkey. And then he just did what he does with smoking turkey. So that was really good.
Yeah.
The last couple years we've been frying the turkey, and it's really good too. I'm not mad at any turkey.
No, yeah, as long as it's cooked and I don't get food poisoning from it, I'm all about it. But yeah, no, I'm excited for Thanksgiving. I'm excited to spend time with family and stuff of that nature. So, hey, I want to share some stories as we kind of get into this.
Okay.
But before we do that, one last question when it comes to Thanksgiving food: chocolate gravy. Have you ever had it?
I've had it a handful of times, but so like, is that part of the Thanksgiving experience for you all?
It was one year so I worked at Camp Chautauqua, and we had this banquet or whatever. It was around November. I went up there and helped with one, and the cook, she made chocolate gravy and she poured it on biscuits, and it was so good. I was grossed out. But at first, it's like, chocolate gravy, there's no way I'm eating that. And then I took one bite and I was like, oh my goodness.
It's a thing. I mean, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah. So not necessarily around Thanksgiving, but maybe we need to make it a Thanksgiving thing.
I would not object.
Yeah. So are you going to make chocolate gravy on Thursday? I don't even know how you make it. I guess you just, I don't know. There's a whole process behind it, I guess.
I'm sure you could YouTube it or Google it and find it pretty close, but I wouldn't be mad about it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah. What have you had it on? Have you had it on biscuits?
Just biscuits.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what else you'd put it on.
Which the first time that I had it, I was like, chocolate gravy? So, because you think of gravy in the South, you think, man, that's savory all the way.
Yeah.
And so the first time I had it, I was really, really skeptical about it, but I tasted it and I was like, yeah, I can do this. It's good.
Yeah.
It's
don't knock it till you try it.
Don't
chocolate
love
gravy
it till you try it.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Hey, so I want to share some stories from ungrateful people. I found this thread on Reddit. It's just where people share different stories, tips, and kind of almost like a tip hotline type deal for online stuff. But I was searching ungrateful stories because I just did a message with the teens, thankful it's who I am, this past Wednesday. And I shared these stories with them, and I want to share these stories with you and the listeners. So here's the first one. A girl at my high school put a brick on her gas pedal and crashed her brand new Mustang into a concrete wall at school. All because the car she got for her 16th birthday was the wrong color. And she kept bragging she'd get a new one. I'm just teaching my parents a lesson, is what she said. Wow.
Is that true story?
True story. And that doesn't even, like, in today's society, that, like, I could tell you that doesn't even sound fake whatsoever. Like that's something that would be a reality. And it's crazy because there's a bunch of other car ones on there too. So I think that's a common thing.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Another one was this. I'm an EMT, early morning cardiac arrest call. We worked on this guy furiously, got a pulse back. Everything went right. It ended up being a good call. Guy gets into the cath lab right away and walks out of the hospital alive a couple weeks later. Then his cranky wife sends us a bill for a carpet cleaning saying that we tracked in mud on her carpet when we were saving her husband's life. Talk about different perspectives for different people. So my question to you, BJ, is why do ungrateful people make us so bothered, so mad?
Yeah. We talked about this just a little bit, I know, last week briefly with the teens, but
yeah.
I made this statement, but really, I'll see if I can say it a little less wordy. But I think the thing that is the most frustrating about being ungrateful is it is like the most tangible, visible example of just a really wrong sense of entitlement. Because I think the being ungrateful, because of course we'll get into this, I know, a little bit more, but it's really, it's almost like people think that they deserve way more than they deserve. And so that's kind of where the spirit of being ungrateful, having that disposition kind of comes from. I think just where we feel like it's really just entitlement. I mean, you see that a lot in our culture. I think, unfortunately, we've kind of led maybe even a generation that direction, as far as thinking through that, man, you deserve everything. You deserve everything. If you want it, you deserve it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot wrong with that.
Oh, yeah.
That mindset.
Yeah, especially if it's like, oh, if somebody else has it, then I can have it,
Yeah.
Because if they get it, well, they don't, yeah.
And that may be true, but it may also not be true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
especially when it comes to being followers of Christ and the attitude of humbleness and the attitude of eating humble pie on a daily basis. And that's hard. I mean, if we're being honest.
Right.
And I think we find ourselves maybe in that ungrateful state more than we're aware of at times. We'll start, getting frustrated, whether it be on a daily basis about small things, and then it becomes bigger things. And then soon we blow up about this one thing, and then we talk with a friend or somebody, who has wise counsel, and they're like, wait, is this seriously what you're allowing to hurt your relationship with others and hurt your communication with God and communication with the church? And we let that fester. And I think that's a really big deal. So kind of going from ungrateful to now thankfulness, how does one become thankful? And then this is another question too, is thankfulness something you turn off and on? Is it something that, Thursday's coming around, Thanksgiving, hit the thankfulness button. I'm thankful on Thanksgiving, but is it a lifestyle? Is it a one day thing? What is it in your mind?
I think you have to, as with many of the things that we talk about, you have to have a perpetual awareness of it. I think it's a great way to check yourself. And so being thankful, really, it's rooted in humbleness.
Yes.
Right. Because we first have to think, again, so it's the opposite of what I just mentioned a minute ago. You have to start at that point of, I don't deserve, nobody owes me anything.
Yeah.
And so anything that I have been given or blessed with, whether you're talking about finances or, maybe just your abilities, your talents, just the things that you can do that other people can't do, just right down to those things, just being thankful that you have been blessed in any measure or regard, I think is rooted in a humbleness that has to begin with, that you don't deserve that grace, and you don't deserve that blessing. And so that has to be the starting point, I think, from how you formulate that. And of course, then for those of us who are believers, obviously, man, as far as, God doesn't owe us anything.
Yeah. Amen.
If anything, we owe everything to Him. because Jesus redeemed us. And so we have to perpetuate that line of thinking in our lives. Otherwise, and I'll tell you how it gets me a lot, like even just like when I get in the car and I'm in a hurry, because we're always running our son just everywhere. We have to be here, have to be there. And so like traffic, man, it gets into me. It does. Frustrating, especially if we're busy and I'm running behind. Now, whose fault is it I'm running behind? Probably mine.
Yeah. What's the saying?
If you were to ask my wife, she would say it's 100% BJ's fault that we're running behind, because she's a planner. She's out the door on time.
Yeah.
We get out 5 minutes. She's looking at me like, here we go again.
That's awesome. That's like that saying. Have you heard it? Poor planning on your part doesn't mean emergency on my part. Have you ever heard that before?
No, but I'd say that's right.
Yeah.
So that's how it can get me in the car. So like if I get in traffic and somebody is going where they're going and they're not running behind.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not in the situation I'm in, which is totally my fault.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get out of my way. I got to go. And even in that moment, man, that's that sense of entitlement. Like in those moments, it's like I think the world revolves around me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like all these people are just
in
my puzzle, you know?
Yeah. And so even things like that kind of really identify our mine specifically, are kind of our innate draw towards thinking that, man, this world is here to serve my purpose.
Yeah.
You know, at times. And that is even part of this conversation as far as not being thankful, because it's just, again, it's a sense of entitlement. It's a sense of everybody else owes me. Like it's about me in those moments. And so we really have to fight against that. And so, you know, maybe it's not as extreme as the stories that we read on the way in, but man, I think it's something that is ever present, probably in all of our lives. And I think we have to, you know, I think the way to attack it is just to have fresh perspective, or a constant, you know, self-evaluation of your perspective. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think you're right on it there. And it comes down to really your thought process of who you think that you are, who you think God is, and who you think others are. I think, and let me say that again, kind of break it down. I think it comes down to perspective and thought process of who you think you are, who you think God is, and who you think others are, and all the places and the parts and the things that take hold in your life.
Yeah.
And I think that has to be a biblical perspective. You have to understand, okay, how does God view others? How does God view me? And how should I view God and those things through the lens of the Bible? And kind of, you shared this with me, but, you know, every Sunday, you kind of share that thought process of when you get up and before you, lead worship and stuff. Can you kind of share that thought process? Like, what's your thought process? Is it like, oh gosh, I've got to lead another song set? Is it, oh man, I don't know why I'm doing this? What is it?
Yeah. So I'll say this to our team all the time. Usually we try to come together and pray before we kick off for service. And I always try to draw myself, it's perpetuating that perspective all the time. And so I always say that what we do as a worship team, what we do when we lead worship and play music and sing songs, you know, that can only rightly come out of an overflow of the gratitude, the thankfulness in our hearts. Because, you know, when I step up there and sing something, man, I want to do that from the starting point of that I was once destined and headed for hell. Like I'm condemned in my trespasses, condemned in my sin, and Jesus traded his perfect life for mine. And so now I can sing from a perspective of gratitude, thankfulness, joy, peace, hope in the truth of the gospel. Man, those things can only come from that right perspective. And we talk about that a lot as a team before we get in front of folks. And because, you know, the way that we play, the way that we sing, we want to let our minds and our hearts go there before we get in front of people to be reminded of it. So, you know, because if we're just getting up there and playing music, And there are plenty of people out there in the world that are way more talented than I am, and these, we've got super talented people here, but there's some way more talented people. You can buy tickets. You just want to go hear music.
Yeah.
You can go hear some of the best in the world for the ticket. But singing praise to God and doing that from a position of passion and gratitude and thankfulness, man, that's really special. And so we want to get there before we take the platform, so that our head and our hearts are in the right place before we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It comes down to, I think, understanding who you are and who God is.
Yeah.
And I think if we get that mixed up, I read my devotional the other day. It was like, we can't replace, or we so easily replace the all of God with the all of ourselves. We become consumed in an all of ourselves instead of in all of who God is and what He's created.
That's dead on.
So I think that not only does perspective, I mean, that's a big thing, and I'm learning that more as I get older. In my wise old years, of 27.
Gosh, did you have to tell me how old you are?
1995.
I feel like your uncle over here in the room with you or something.
He probably graduated college when I was born, right?
Here he goes. He's still going.
Just kidding. No.
Oh gosh.
But no, I think it comes down to perspective. And there's a quote that I shared with the teens, and I thought that it was really good. It kind of gave me some clarity. But if you want momentary happiness, serve yourself. If you want lasting fulfillment, serve someone else. Wow. And then there's another one too. It says generosity is not about how much you have. It's about trusting God with what you have. So I think it comes down to, man, when at Thanksgiving, when you're sitting around whatever table you're sitting around, maybe you're working. There's a lot of people that have to work on Thanksgiving still. There's a lot of people that, the world doesn't stop now. The world used to be able to pause. It doesn't anymore.
Yeah, and there's ebbs and flows to our lives where things are tougher. There's seasons that are tougher. There's seasons that are, mountaintop experiences, if you will, where we feel like things are going really, really well and God's really blessing and things are going, in what we perceive to be our favor. And so, but don't you think that an attitude or a mindset or a, just having a perpetuated understanding and awareness, I think that all Christians should be the most thankful people in the world, even regardless of our momentary circumstances.
Yeah, come on.
I think we have to ask ourselves this week, and maybe that's a little bit of the challenge to what we're talking about today, is, are you thankful in this season?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not, step one, if you're a believer, if you've lost everything and you still have Jesus and you still have the hope of a saving God, and you still have the peace of knowing that regardless of circumstance that He's preparing a place for you. And you know that you can find joy in that. That just, talk about it, because you think about like Paul, if we want to talk about just overview, broad stroke of Paul in the Bible. Paul, he was persecuted. He was beat up at Lystra. They drug him out of town, left him for dead. And man, he kept saying things like, for me to die is gain.
Yeah.
Right? To die is gain. So what can you do to somebody who is thankful for a saving God? What can you do? As somebody who really perpetuates that thankfulness in their lives, that's based on that one fact alone. So I think there's a mandate there for us to be thankful. Don't you want to be thankful when people meet you and they interact and have interaction with you? Don't you want them to go, man, that guy, that gal right there, they are just joyful people.
Yeah.
They're thankful. They have gratitude that just exudes from their person. And so I think we've got to get there.
Yeah.
Don't we?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's safe to say that there's scriptural mandate and that there is an expectation for us as believers that we are thankful people at just the base level. And then anything over and above that is just God's blessing. Yeah. Most of us, I drove in here in a truck. I have heat.
Yeah. Heated steering wheel.
I have a heated steering wheel.
Which I'm a little bit jealous of.
So I didn't ask for that. But the guy, so when we bought the truck, we were driving home, and I was like, what's this button do? And my steering wheel started getting hot. So, yeah, like, bro, I've got a heated steering wheel. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Do I really need to be upset that I'm 5 minutes late, which was my fault? You know, like, I got a heated steering wheel. So there's just so many things that we lose sight of. And I'm talking to myself here.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like, because, man, there are a lot of frustrations out there that can rule your perspective. And so I think we have to maintain and say yes and amen to the concept that we should be as believers, we should be the most thankful people in the world.
Yes.
You know, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the most sombering thoughts that I have in those moments about thankfulness and who I am and what's going on in my life is that whenever you're flying in a plane and you look out and you see how small everything is, and you see how big the world is, and how small you really are, and how insignificant almost in a sense you are to the world that you think that you're living in, I think it looks a whole lot different there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. For me, because I don't fly very much, we only flown a couple times in my life. For me, it's the ocean.
Ooh.
Same perspective.
Yeah.
You stand on the ocean, like where we typically go to Florida once a year, and you can stand from the beach there. And you just look out, and there's nothing out there.
Yeah.
It's enormous. And that's just a tiny piece of the ocean, the Gulf Coast there. And so, yeah, that's well said. That's a very tangible, physical representation of how small we are and how giant he is.
Yes.
So that's good. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you guys for listening in, and we will see you guys next week.
Yep.
Hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy some food.
Be thankful, eat good. We will see you all next time.